Ready.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so very much for joining us today. Today's session will be covering creating a user field on a finance dimension using Configuration Console. I am sharing my screen and a PowerPoint at this time. So first thing we're going to do is some introductions and housekeeping. I'm going to give a quick overview of Intellias. We're going to talk about the what, the why, and the how. We're going to give a live demo of how to create this user field on a finance dimension. We'll answer all of your questions, and then we'll conclude the presentation. So to start, my name is Debbie Sherman. I am an FSM solution architect for Intellias, and I do have on the call with me as well one of my principal consultants, Mike, and he will be listening in as well. So what I would ask is that you please place your questions in the chat, and we will review those at the end of the demo. Lovely Miss Chandra will be watching those for us, and we will record the session and share it via email after the presentation. And of course, you can always find us on YouTube and LinkedIn. So with that said, I am going to go off video so there's no distractions, and we'll move forward with the rest of the presentation. All right, about Intellias. So let's talk about that. Intellias was founded in 1999 and is headquartered in Dallas, Texas. We have offices in Chicago as well. We are an Infor Alliance partner dedicated to providing technology, application consulting, upgrade, and cloud services, specifically in the areas of loss and technical services, loss and upgrades, loss and application consulting, Infor Cloud Services, and of course, Infor Cloud Suite Consulting, including FSM. In addition, we offer software solutions that assist in the areas of benefit enrollment and payroll functionality. With years of industry experience, Intellias offers organizations like your own the expertise to obtain your Infor goals. If there is anything we can do to assist you in these areas, please feel free to reach out to us, and at the end there will be some contact information. So let's, again, thank you for joining, and let's get started with the presentation on creating the user field. So let's talk about the what, the why, and the how. So what are we doing today? And what does it mean? Well, we're going to create a user field on a finance dimension using Configuration Console. Why is that important? How many times have we done things where we've needed an extra piece of information, or the ability to be able to further consolidate data in our reporting, right? We set up hierarchies within the system for companies, for departments or cost centers, for charts, or any one of the other finance dimensions that we utilize today. But we still sometimes have that need to do a different sort, to consolidate the data at a different level. So let me give you an example. I had a healthcare client that utilized several different alternate reporting bases for different consolidations they were doing within their organization, right? They used them for joint ventures as well as Medicare reporting. So their required dimensions were pretty simple: company, location, department, account. And while they used alternate hierarchies for their locations, they also wanted to be able to know for those locations what regions did they belong to. So the locations were organized by state, and the dilemma became, how do we then roll that up to a regional level, or see what kind of activity we have at that regional level? And so that next word becomes how. How did we do this? So one of my teammates at the time on the project with me came up with this brilliant idea to create a user field on a location finance dimension. And that brings us back to the what. What did this do for the client? Well, it allowed them to not only report on location and at the location level, but also at the regional level. So we created a user field on that location, right? We added it to the location finance dimension form. It had a drop down. So if they were adding new locations, they could go to the drop down and they could select the region that they wanted to add to that location. They could also upload it to any existing locations that they currently had using ISD and update the value for the field. From there, we were able to personalize the list views and include it in any of those list views that they wanted to export and create pivot tables, etc. And also, we utilized it in BI reporting. We had an amazing application developer in Application Studio who included that additional piece of information through that user field in the BI reports. So it really was something that helped them immensely. It was something very easy to do. And so that's why we decided to show you how to do this today. I will start out by telling you I am not a technical resource. I am a finance consultant. Okay, my background consists of accounts payable and finance within healthcare and government agencies. So this is something I learned and worked through with a technical developer and Mike. So we're going to show you today exactly how we did this. So I am going to stop our slideshow and we will pull up Infor. Okay. Let me get some things out of my way here. Sorry. My apologies. It's been a while since I've used webinar. Okay. So basically today I'll be working from the application administrator role, the configuration console role, and then the staff accountant role, which is where we'll personalize the list views for you. So the first thing that we're going to do is identify the business class that we want to add the user dimension on, right? So in doing that, we've got to go into the FEG. So we're going to go into financials, global ledger, setup, finance enterprise group, and maintenance. And many of you who do work today in FSM probably know directly how to get there. This is our sandbox, so you're going to see multiple FEGs, which is not normal, as you're aware. But I will open our FEG. And you'll notice that we have location here as finance dimension 3. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to location. We're going to open the hierarchy for location. And we're going to look here to see how we're set up. So we have US clinics, we have Tennessee and California. And within those, we have posting. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to open up one of the posting locations. Okay. And within this posting location, are you able? Go ahead.
This is Allison. Yeah, we're just seeing your PowerPoint.
Okay, so hold on a second. Let me unshare and share again. What are you seeing now?
Now we see the browser.
Okay, I am so sorry. So let me go back. My apologies for that. All right. So everyone can see the actual FSM now?
No, we're seeing the WebEx URL.
Reeve, what is going on? I apologize, folks. Let me stop sharing and let's try sharing again. All right, are we now seeing
Yes.
FSM? Okay, so sorry for that. So we'll go back to the beginning here. So what I did is I went into Global Ledger, I went into our setup, into our Finance Enterprise Group Maintenance. I opened that FEG. I'm verifying that location is Finance Dimension 3. These are the user-defined finance dimensions. I then went into the location itself, opened this up, and expanded the hierarchy. So you can see here where we have US clinics, Tennessee and California, and here's a posting location. Right, so I'm going to open up that posting location. And if you notice in here, you have the main tab, but we also have a user field tab on the location, which becomes very helpful because this is where we are going to put that user field that we create. This is where it will appear and show up for the dropdown. Okay, so we've clicked on this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that little nifty trick, the Control-Shift left click to bring up the component information. And many of you probably know when you're doing ISD or you're mapping information, you know this is how you find out what business class you're in and what that field name is. So we are in the business class Finance Dimension 3. And we are going to click Create Configuration so that we know what business class this is, right? So the business class user field needs to be added to the Finance Dimension 3, right? And here is User Fields Form, is the form that we're going to add that on. So you would make a note of that on the side to know this is what I have to create that user field on. Now notice it already brought us to Configuration Console, so it changed roles for us. So you would have to have access to this role. So we're going to go into Configuration and we're going to go into Create. All right? And this is where we would create different configurations on list views, forms, reports, etc. Now we're going to scroll down here to the Tailor Business Logic, and this is where we're going to create that user field. So this top portion is for the list, where we'll come back to once we've created the field, because the object here is to create the user field and then add it to the form. So we'll click on Field, and now we need to know what that business class was, right? Remember, it was Finance Dimension 3 was our business class. And you can do one of two things. You can come in here and type Finance Dimension 3, hit enter, and it'll define it for you. If you know these and you're more familiar with it than others, then you can simply type it here as well. And then for the name on this, we're going to give this user field a name. So the recommendation from a consulting perspective, as well as from a user perspective, is that when you create a configuration in the system, you want to make sure you prefix that user field with your organization's initials, etc. So for this particular one, we're going to call it INT for Intellias and region, and it will need to be camel case. But that lets you know in the system when you are looking at things that this particular field is one you've created and not a standard out-of-the-box field. Then the next step in that is we don't want this to show up on the form as INT region. So we're going to give it an explicit label, and we're just going to call it region. Oops. Okay. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to decide what type of a field is this. So here's your field type. So we're going to have this field be an alpha upper, and the field size is going to be 2. All right. So we've given the basic information on that user field. The business class is Finance Dimension 3, and the field's going to be region. We've given it a label. It's alpha upper 2, and now we'll click submit. There we go. So here's the field we've created. Finance Dimension 3 is a business class owned by General Ledger. INT region is an alpha upper size 2, and the default label is region. Okay. All right. So the next step that we're going to do here is we're going to click on Edit. And notice it brings us up. Again, remember I said, I'm not a technical resource. So this is LPL language, and while I know enough to be dangerous, this is where in many cases you can collaborate with your developers or with a technical resource to assist you in understanding the basics here or how to create the language that you need for these. But what we're going to do is we're going to come here at the end of region. We're going to hit enter, and notice we get another line. So line 8 just appeared. All right. We are going to type the word states. Remember I said that this is going to be a drop down. And this drop down is going to include north, south, west, east, because those are our regions. Those are going to be called states. When you are doing, when you are working with ISD, you know that when you create queries or you create uploads, you have the option there to do it with value or states. And that's exactly what this means. And I think it will become more clear as I add these. So we're going to say what states we want. We're going to hit enter again and add another line. We are going to indent this time. And we're going to type in north. So north is our state, right? But the value for north is going to be 10. So within FSM, when you are, if you're in AP or you're doing journal entries, you have states that are released, unreleased, historical. Those, when you do ISD again, to make that connection between the two, unreleased is generally 0, released is 1, historical is generally 9. That's what these values are. So I've got a state of north with a value of 10. And I'm staying away from single digits because single digits are out of the box for Infor. So I'm going to go ahead and type in south, and the value here is 20. I'm going to type in west, have to be able to spell, value is 30. And then I'm going to go to east, where the value is 40. So I've given it my states. Now, one thing I want to show you here, if I type in east, notice the little red squiggly line that's underneath it. It's going to tell, that red line tells you you have not completed this. That means it's not valid, it's not going to work. As I continue to type, notice that that red squiggly line goes away. The value turns blue and the state turns green. So now I know I'm good to go. So that's a key indicator when you're doing configurations. Those squiggly lines are trying to tell you something. And I'm absolutely certain there is a technical word for squiggly line, but I do not know what it is because, again, I'm not a technical resource. So now we're going to click submit. So we've created a user field called region with a drop down, and that drop down includes north, south, west, or east. Well, that's all great and good. Now that we've created it, if we went out to the location, we wouldn't be able to see it because we have not added it to the user field tab on the location. So that's the next step. So to go back and review, we first looked to see what business class and tab we were going to put it on. We identified finance dimension 3 as the business class and user fields as the form. We then created the user field as INT region. It was an alpha upper size 2 with a default label of region. We then added the states, north, south, west, and east, which are the pieces we'll select when we do the drop down. Okay? All right, so that user field's created. Now we're going to add it to a form. So we are going to come back and go to configuration, and we'll do create. And this time we're going to select from the top. All right, so before we did the Tailor business logic to create a field, now we're going to utilize the Tailor user interface, keeping in mind UI, user interface, very common term with FSM. And what that means is it is what we as users see when we go in. That's the FSM user interface, what is presenting to us on the screen and the aesthetics of what's there. So we're going to go into the form and we're going to click create like we did. It pops up. So now we want a business view. So again, we want this to be finance dimension 3. And it's a little finance dimension. I just want to make sure I typed it right. This business view really is that business class, but because we're in a form, it's called a view. And then the form we're using, if you remember, I said to take note, it is the user fields form. Hit enter, and there it is. We're going to select it. Again, you could just type these here if you wanted, and then we're going to click submit. So we're telling it we want to go to the user fields form. Notice nothing's here right now, because as you remember, when we looked at location over here, this is a blank field. And even if we refreshed, we don't see our user field, right? So, and that's confirmed here. So the title is user fields, the layout is 2 columns. 2 columns means that if we added 4 user fields, they would line up in columns. You can change this layout. There's several different ones, and there actually is a really great document that Infor puts out on LPL language and this type of information. I will add a note to have make sure that when we release the recording, we also reference that LPL document. You can find it out on the Infor website, and actually I think you can find it here if you go to the help at the bottom and look up administration guides. It's a wonderful document. It'll tell you what the different layouts are. So sorry I went off on a tangent there. Okay, so we have 2 columns. We're going to edit this because we want to add that user field to this specific form. So we're going to go to the end of 2 column and hit enter. Notice we got a line 5 again. Okay. And if any of you have worked in Rich Client and done Configuration Console, you'll start to see some similarities here. While the web version of Configuration Console is very different, and I believe it's a little more developer focused than Rich Client was, this is still very similar to what we had there. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do here is add our name. So remember that user field name was INT region. We're going to, and notice I have no squiggly line, so I'm going to hit enter and I'm going to tab again to indent, and we're going to say label is, in parentheses, region. Okay? That's it. End of story. Now, you do see a squiggly line here, but it's not red. It's kind of an orangey yellow color. Right? So we're going to click submit. All right, guys, that's it. That's all we had to do to create that user field and add it to that form. So now let's go back over here, and I believe I'm going to have to re-navigate. It just doesn't magically show up. So let's go back in here. We're going to maintenance. We'll open up our FEG. We will go into location again. We'll pop open 10. Look at that. We've got a region user field with a drop down, and we can select north. And we're going to save it. Okay. So far, so good, right? All right. So now let's go be a staff accountant today. We're going to be a staff accountant today. I feel sorry for them at the end of the month. So we're going to come into the staff accountant role, and we're going to go into my reports, and we're going to go into transactions, and we're going to go into finance transactions. Now, keeping in mind this personalization will work on any of the finance transaction detail, whether you're on the transaction tab, the search, etc. We're going to do this one specifically from the search tab today. Okay. And what we're going to do is click on this search tab. And if you're familiar with this, you know we can enter entity, system, event, etc. All right, so we're going to come over here to our little ellipsis, and we are going to go to options, personalize. So one thing I want to say about personalizations, each organization is different. I've had different clients that prefer the personalizations be done through their IT or technical resource areas. I've had others where they allow the users to do them themselves. Here's the thing, a personalization is just that. It's personal to me. So as I make this personalization in my session of FSM, I'm the only one that can see it. Okay, Mike can't see it, Allison can't see it, Rita, you couldn't see it. It's just for me. You can globalize personalizations so that it becomes a configuration. And many times, and let me take a step back here if you don't mind me going off on a little bit of a tangent. When we look at finance transaction details, many of us have personalized this screen to add the user-defined dimensions that we added at the time we implemented the system, right? Or we've come in here and put them in order of the way we'd like to see them. So, you know, it comes out of the box, you've got entity ledger. I prefer to have my ledger in front of my entity. And if you have one ledger, many people will hide that column. But then you have your post to company, your account, your department, your project, in many instances, project category. And notice location is not here because location is a user-defined dimension. It actually has to be added to be able to view it here. So that's one of the things we'll do here with this personalization as well. So we're going to go back in here to options and personalize. And the reason that I said that is I wanted to, again, make you understand that depending on what your business policy is within your organization will determine whether or not you can do personalizations yourself. Okay, so here we are within personalizations. Okay, and the first thing that we are going to do here is add our location, which is finance dimension 3. So we're going to do add a field. Again, if you know it, there's a couple different ways to do this, so I'll show you. You can type finance Oh, actually this one, I apologize. We are in GL, so this is going to be finance code block. Finance code block dot finance dimension. Notice how it starts bringing them all up. Okay, so I could pick finance dimension 3 from here if I liked. You can also go to the advanced search, and here you can type in finance dimension, finance, keep trying to, finance dimension 3. I can't type with people watching. Do a search, and there it is. I can select it and say okay. Now, I don't want my label to be finance dimension 3. My finance dimension 3 is location, so I'm going to change that label, and then I'm going to tab out of there, and notice over here, here it is. I'm going to move this up. I'm going to put it behind, I'm going to put it up here in front of my account, and this is where I'm going to do a little bit of moving around for you. So it is company, which is post 2, location, department, which is finance dimension 1, and account. And then you have accounting unit, project, etc. All right, so I've got my finance dimension 3 there, right? All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to see the region that we just added, right? So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add that region to my list view. So I'm going to go back into advanced search. I'm going to type in finance code block, finance dimension 3, and I'm going to hit search. I'm going to expand this, and I'm going to scroll down here. These are in alphabetical order, and I'm going to find my INT region. So there's the field, the user field we created. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to click OK. And you're going to notice that it's here, and it's got a region, and we're good to go. Although I'm a little surprised I'm not seeing it over here. So let's see if it pops up. Okay.
Hey Debbie, this is Mike.
Yes, sir.
When you want to put the region in, you missed one step. You
What's
didn't
that?
click add field first. So
Well, that explains it.
what just happened is you replaced the finance dimension 3 with the region.
Yes,
Anyway,
I did. So sorry.
I'm sorry for jumping in.
No, that's okay. You're absolutely right. I was going too fast. So let's go back here and do finance code block, finance dimension 3, and we'll add that one. And we'll do location. And we'll tab out of that and make sure that that is there. Good. Then we'll do add field again. And we'll go this one from the advanced search, and we'll do finance code block, finance dimension 3. And
I
we'll
hate to
hit
jump in again,
yeah.
but you already got the region on the list.
Oh, I didn't see it. Region, where are you? There it is. Okay, so let's move that down behind our account. There we go. All right. Thanks, Mike. Sorry. I did hear you say I replaced one with the other. Uh-oh. What doesn't it like?
Blank one.
Yep, we got one right here. There we go. Come on. Delete that puppy. There we go. All right. All right. So we've got location here, and now we've got region. So notice we added a region to posting location 10. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come back over here, and in location, we're actually going to enter a 10. I'm going to give us a little more real estate here. All right. So now, do you see everything that has a 10, and I won't say contains, let's do equals. All right. So what I did is popped in the location 10, and notice here we have the region. So you could then export this to CSV and sort by region. Keeping in mind, I only added I only selected a region for one posting location, but you now have the region here. So if you uploaded this to all of your locations, you could then export this for a specific period. So you could do it for a journal period, a posting date, etc., and export that information, create pivot tables, etc., and then further be able to sort or put these together based on not only state, but by region as well. And these again can be incorporated into different reports that can be utilized with ISD. So you can add these to a query or an upload, either one. Okay. All right, so now the last piece of this. So you've done this as a personalization. It is a personalization for you, right? But you want to, you want everyone on your team to be able to see this user field that you've created. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this personalization a configuration. So again, to reiterate, I can see this because it's my personalization, but your teammates can't. If you want them to see it, then we're going to go back to the configuration console role. And we are going to go into personalization and into the master list. So these are all the personalizations that have been done within your system. All right, we're going to select that personalization and we are going to make it configurable, right? So the business class that we're going to utilize is going to be general ledger transaction. So I'll select that and you'll see here what I did today at 11/29/53. We select that and we make it a configuration here. What that does is makes it viewable for everyone. So now that finance dimension search, or the finance transaction search screen with the region on it will become a configuration and everyone in the organization can see. Okay. So when you do this, of course, it asks you move this personalization to configuration, and you say yes. I'm going to do that because I don't want a configuration. So that concludes the portion of the live demo. I will absolutely, let's go back to questions. So Chandra, do we have any questions from the group?
We haven't had any come in yet.
Okay.
But if anyone has one, please, you can unmute yourself or enter it into the chat.
Right.
And of course, if you come up with some later, I think, Deb, if you pop I think you had a slide, right, with your contact information, you can always reach out to us. Or as she mentioned at the beginning of the session, we'll be emailing a recording out. So if you have something pop up, you can always respond to that email as well.
We absolutely, and I do have contact information here for both myself, Chandra, who's our Director of Business Development, and our Senior Director of Services. So if you have any questions or information or would like any information, please feel free to reach out to us. And I do actually see several familiar names, and I know specifically that the configuration that we just did is very dear to the heart of one of the individuals on the call today. So.
And Deb, the slide isn't showing up on your screen. You may have a different monitor open.
No, this sharing thing on webinar is, let's see. How about now?
There we go. Perfect.
And Chandra, can we share this PowerPoint when we share the recording as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. We usually share it in a PDF format, so you should get both.
Good.
And if we don't have any questions at this time, we will give you some time back in your day and we will send this along as soon as the recording is ready. So thank you all. And have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.